I'm not exactly sure how I should start this video. I don't do personal updates like this all that often, but I guess I'll just start out with kind of the headline news. I am a father now. Baby's healthy, mommy's healthy, so everything's great there. I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience over the past couple weeks though, because for one, if I don't make a video about this, I'm not gonna make a video about anything. And for two, a lot has gone on. I actually had to write down a couple pages of notes just to remind myself everything that's happened over the past couple weeks, and it's not all about the baby. So I'm just gonna talk about it, let you guys know what went on. Yes, I'll be sharing a little bit of the baby towards the end, but I am gonna try to keep up with my promise to not turn my channel into a channel about our new baby. She will be popping up from time to time, but I am gonna be still focusing on tech, so don't worry about that. So my story begins in the last week of April 2019, and I told you guys that my baby was due in late April, but the actual due date was April 25th. On the 25th, the baby hadn't come yet, so we were still just trying to go about business as usual, and that morning, Joe came over. He is my editor. He also has been helping me film stuff. And in the morning, we were getting ready to go, and we looked at Hero, my large dog who's down here snoring, and he wasn't right. Joe noticed at first. I noticed he seemed a little off, and then just over the course of maybe 5 or 10 minutes, he suddenly couldn't stand up anymore. He was wobbling to the side. We tried to let him into the backyard, and we could just tell something was very much wrong, and it escalated pretty quickly from the point where I was like, all right, am I gonna have to have my wife take him into the vet, to like, oh, we need to take him into the vet right now. So we canceled shooting for that day. We took an emergency trip down to our vet, which is located in Fullerton, and they did an initial diagnosis. Basically, they were worried that he might have had a stroke. There were possible other complications that could have happened. So they referred us to a specialist in Orange County called the Orange County Veterinary Specialists. They're actually located in Tustin. We drove down there, and there they were able to do a bit more of a diagnosis, and eventually they determined that he had what is known as vestibular disease. And if you're not familiar with that, it is actually somewhat common in older dogs, and I've heard sometimes even more common in larger dogs, but basically it just happens. It's a sudden onset of vertigo, so the dog can't maintain balance and they fall over, and it's very noticeable in the eyes. The eyes will constantly track back and forth over and over again, like the dog can't stay focused on a single point or of reference. So I tweeted out that day to ask for some support for people. I tweeted again as we were on the way back from our vet, because at that point we knew he had vestibular disease, or we were pretty sure of it. Nystagmus is the condition for the eyes, and you can kind of see it here in this video that I tweeted out, sort of the eyes shifting back and forth. So just for those of you who might have a dog, an older dog or a larger dog in particular, keep an eye out for this type of behavior, because it just happens. They don't really know exactly why. It can sometimes be caused by an ear infection, so what they sent us home from the vet with that day was some antibiotics to counter potentially an ear infection, also some painkillers, and they basically told us it's just going to take a week to 10 days plus for it to sort of slowly wear off. Often dogs can recover from this fully or recover from it mostly. They might still have a little bit of a head tilt that comes out of it, and sometimes they can still have a little bit of bad balance after the fact. Fortunately, at this point, Hero is doing much, much, much better. He still does have that little bit of a head tilt, and he doesn't always walk in a straight line, but he's doing way better, and he's very much back to his old self. So that was good. But that is definitely not the end of the story. As I already mentioned, that was my wife's due date, the day our baby was supposed to be born, if our baby was on time for things, which probably isn't going to be the case for her lifetime. That's probably hereditary. But the point is, we were kind of on edge because we knew that the baby could come at any minute. So for the next 4 to 5 days or so, we were just kind of going about business as usual, as much as we could, waiting for a baby to come, did some doctor's appointments. Eventually they decided to schedule my wife to be induced, to have labor induced on May 1st. Now, a quick note here about our dogs. We have 2 of them. Nori is a cardigan Welsh Corgi. She's a smaller dog. She's very well behaved and everyone loves her. Hero is a larger dog and he is very lovable, but he's also what is known as a bully breed, so people are sometimes a little bit more intimidated by him, and there's certain rules at certain places about boarding dogs like pit bulls. He's a pit bull mastiff mix, in case you were wondering. He is also a pound puppy, and ever since we got him, he has had very, very bad separation anxiety. If I'm not around or if my wife's not around, he gets really nervous. We can generally leave him here with Nori, and the 2 of them together are okay chilling for a while, and we have a camera so we can keep an eye on them and everything. But just over the past 6 months or so, when we have boarded Hero, he's gotten more and more nervous and more not happy with being in a kennel, and so the place where we typically board him, we can't board him anymore. So we had arranged for Joe to come over and house sit and save us there, so that my wife and I could go into the hospital for the delivery of our baby, and we would be confident knowing that our dogs are here and had someone to keep an eye on them. And even more so now that Hero had just gone through this vestibular disease thing, which he was still recovering from, we wanted to make sure somebody had kept an eye on him. So next, fast forward to Tuesday, April 30th, and this was a night that we had awesome hardware. Kyle came over here, we broadcast the live show from right here where we usually do, and then Kyle went home, and later that night I had let Hero and Nori into the backyard to do their business, and a few minutes later I noticed Hero coughing or hacking. He was over on the side of our yard, and again it was just a situation where at first I was like, oh, okay, do you have something caught in your throat? He kept hacking over and over again. He started to get really like full body like heaves that he was trying to clear something out of his throat. Again, incredibly concerning, and I was like, all right, we need to take him in. It was late at night this time, but fortunately we actually have an overnight emergency vet that's relatively close to us here as well. So took him there, had to wait around for a little bit of time. Basically, they found that he did have something caught in the back of his throat. It might have been a foxtail or something from the backyard. Either as a result of that, or it was just caught because we brought him in for that, but he also had a bunch of air in his belly, which is known as bloat in larger dogs. And especially with larger dogs, if they get bloated, their stomach can actually flip upside down. It's a very common problem for big dogs, especially if they eat very quickly and intake a lot of air. And if that happens, basically the dog dies, unfortunately. So that was a big concern for us. They kept him at that facility overnight. We woke up first thing the next morning, went and picked him up from there, took him to our vet in Fullerton, again took him down to the specialist in Tustin, and then they had to keep him there for a day or two in order to monitor him, keeping him on some pain medications. They did some x-rays and they were updating us on his status. So again, reminder, this was now 6 or 7 days after my wife's initial due date. Our dog is in the vet down in Tustin. We need to go to the Kaiser Permanente where we're going to be delivering our baby, which is in Baldwin Park, not exactly very close to each other. And we have a situation where we have to get our dogs back home together at some point. So we started doing a bunch of phone tag and coordinating with my parents and with Joe. Joe also was scheduled to see Avengers Endgame, which we were trying to be sensitive to. He eventually very graciously postponed his Avengers Endgame viewing dates, so that was very nice of him again. Joe was super clutch this entire past week, I must say. But after we had finally gotten all that coordinated for my parents to pick the dogs up and go and meet Joe at our house, and so we were gonna go into the hospital, we got a call from the hospital that they were very full in the labor and delivery area and asked if we could push the induction back one more day, which was a little frustrating because we were ready to go, but also helpful because it meant that the following day on May 2nd, my wife and I were able to go pick up Hero, bring him home. Joe came over and we did a transition there. Joe then stayed at our house. We went to the hospital for our scheduled induction on the evening of May 2nd. And then we sort of switched from the prior week of, oh no, what the heck is happening with our dog, to the following week, which was, we're having a baby now, which was very exciting, but also, of course, a little scary. To sum up the next couple days though, basically it was a labor and delivery situation. I'm not going to go into too many details there, but the very, very good news is that my daughter Hannah was born on May 4th at 1:52 a.m. She weighed 8 pounds and 1 ounce, and she is super happy and healthy, and she poops and cries a lot, but we love her. We love her so much. Yes, we are prepared for essentially a lifetime of May the 4th jokes, since she was now born on Star Wars Day. We didn't name her Leia or Rey or anything like that though. So actually she's kind of slightly named after Diva from Overwatch, but I don't want to get into that. But the next few days was not necessarily easy either. I don't know how many of you out there have kids or are expecting to have kids or anything like that, but it's a new and kind of crazy experience. And if I can impress one thing upon you watching this video, it's that once the baby's born, there's sort of an aftermath time there, which can go by relatively easily and quickly, but it can also be very hard as well. So we had 2 complications. Our baby had jaundice, and that's very common. You can use phototherapy. They actually gave us this LED fiber optic thing to set her up with in her crib when she was sleeping at night to provide more blue light on her skin, because that is one of the ways that you deal with jaundice levels. Fortunately, her bilirubin levels is what happened, the actual name of the thing that accumulates in the blood. Fortunately, her jaundice was never acute enough that she had to go to the newborn intensive care unit or anything like that, so it was just something we needed to monitor and take care of. As for my wife Diana, she also had some complications. I'm not going to go into the details of those, just suffice it to say that they were uncomfortable and frustrating, but not life-threatening. So it was just a situation where we were really ready to go home with our baby after such a long and stressful week, and we just had to stay at the hospital for like 2.5 extra days and wait and sort of wait, and that got really frustrating. But we finally were able to go home on the evening of May 6th, and then the very next morning we had to go right back to the hospital for more checkups and everything. But point being, we are incredibly happy because my wife is happy and healthy and recovering as best she can. Baby is doing super great. I can't tell you guys how cute I think she is. I hope you agree. If you don't, you're stupid and wrong. So since May 6th, we have just been here at home doing our best to maintain, keep things under control. We've had a bunch of help from friends and family, which has been super awesome. And yeah, just you gotta clean the baby, you gotta feed the baby, you gotta burp the baby. The baby's kind of in control at this point, but we're okay with it. We're gonna get through it. And I just wanted to share this little slice of our life with you guys in case you were wondering what's going on with Paul, where I have been over the past couple weeks, maybe a little bit more detail about some of the stuff I've been tweeting. There's another picture I tweeted of Hero when we took him to the park after he was recovering from his vestibular disease, where he's just super happy. So that's the other really great thing is Hero recovering well, doing really well, and he's still kicking. So we're looking forward to spending more time with him. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, though. I don't know what kind of questions you might have, but feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. I should be back to a relatively normal schedule within the next couple weeks, but please bear with me. I'll probably be a little bit more sporadic than usual, but I've already got a couple videos shot, so that's awesome. Again, a huge thank you to Joe. We could not have done this without him. I can't, like, as we were being kept at the hospital and I had to keep calling Joe or texting him and be like, hey, so we don't know when we can leave. Are you okay to stick around longer? And he was just super awesome to do that and stick around. And he did eventually get to see Endgame. And what'd you think, Joe?
It sucked!
Oh, he's, all right. He was,
so kidding.
No, it was really good. Game of Thrones, that's what sucks now. But anyway, I'm getting distracted. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Somebody has hiccups. Oh my gosh. I've never seen hiccups this cute before. So, what do you think of the hiccups, Hannah?